Many thanks for choosing us. This afternoon, more houses along the coastline at Glefee within the Blekuma West municipality are being washed away by strong waves from the sea. Last week, about 7 houses collapsed as a result of devastating sea erosion in the area, exposing the only health facility in the area as the next in line. The Ministry of Works and Housing had hinted it was dispatching a team to assess the situation, but in just the past 24 hours, 3 more houses have collapsed, leaving more residents displaced. My colleague Manok Ranting, who reported this earlier, went back to Glefee and has more in this report.
Glefee is a coastal community which lies about 100 meters north of the Atlantic Ocean. There are no government schools here, no government hospitals, or even government-controlled public toilets. Unemployment is quite high in this area too. While they grapple with these challenges, there's another one which is threatening their very lives and livelihoods. Tidal waves. Violent, destructive, and ferocious tidal waves. Every week, at least 5 houses here are washed into the sea by the tidal waves. This is as a result of rising sea levels occasioned by climate change. Not even the Sea Defense Project here has prevented buildings from being washed away by the sea.
For years, ni buildings here. It has been here for long.
But he is not alone. Kwesi, his neighbor, has been up since 3 a.m. planting beams to support the fast eroding foundation of his building.
As you can see, the way the waves is, it's very, very, very scary. But what will you do? I have a 2-year kid, very, very young, who is with me, and it's not safe for her.
The kids here are literally petrified. They look on helplessly as the only places they have known to be home continue to be broken away, building after building.
To commit, it's a affair, but baby Ameda. And I'm more than one Ameda, you may said I knew. And I'm never my men papa in Naipia. Yeah, but she not dining in the but now wanting my chain. I said I'm school.
The contractor has had calls to alter the design of the remaining 400 meters to allow for a landing site for the fishermen in the area. The spot for the intended landing site dovetails into the piece of land which houses the only medical facility in the area, the Royal Memorial Hospital. The hospital stands just some 10 meters away from the last standing structure at the shore. The nurses here practically work in fear. Dorcas Mensah is one of the nurses at the surgical theater of the facility.
Some time ago, we were having a case done at a theater whilst we've cut a patient's abdomen open, and then all of a sudden we had a shake in the ground, and everything, the towels and then the bed the patient was on, everything sank down, which was very scary.
This 2-kilometer sea defense project is being executed by Sidalco Construction Limited, partly to reclaim some of the lost land and also protect the buildings along the coastline from the devastation of the ocean. Work started here in November 2015 and was to be completed by 2018. But that was not to be, as several challenges including logistical constraints and issues of payment certificates delayed the completion of the project up until now. Charles Owusu is the assemblyman for the Glefee Begbese electoral area.
And they told us that the sea level is higher than the community. So if we can stay safe here, unless they construct a sea defense for us. Since the construction of the sea defense, you see, they started from Glefee enclaves, and now here is Akweteman. but they have stopped here. So we called on our MP, which is in the person of Honorable Esla Usu. And she came here last time with, I think, the housing minister or so. And they came and looked at it. And then they said, okay, government have awarded the contract to that same contractor. But the contractor said they need clearance before they can continue the job. So that is how far we have gotten to.
The only facility in the area, the Royal Hospital, stands tall now, but for just a couple more weeks, if nothing is done to ensure that the violent waves are blocked from having access into the homes. Reporting for Joy News, Manuel Cranting.
My colleague Manuel Quarantine joins me in the studio for more on this one. Manuel, you've been there at Glefee once again. I mean, you went there today. What's the latest? What did you find when you revisited that area?
Yeah, so Aisha, last week about 7 houses got washed away. In just the past 24 hours, about 3 more houses have been washed away into the ocean. In fact, at the point that I got there, a lot of the residents, the affected ones, were just hanging around, loitering in the area. Essentially for them, they've had to pass the night in the open at the mercy of the weather. These are generally, you know, women and children who essentially do not have anywhere to stay. There was a very elderly lady who spoke to me, quoted her age as around 80 years, and says that she's had to put up in a store because the room which originally was her bedroom has been torn down by the waves, and so she's now in a provision shop where she actually sells, and that's where she's had to be. And so generally it's just more devastation by the minute, more devastation by the day. And so and you remember, Aisha, that yesterday the Ministry of Works and Housing had intimated that they were going to revisit the site. And this is on the back of an earlier visit sometime 2 months ago when the sector minister, the Honorable Asenso Boache, together with the Member of Parliament for the area, Blakema West, Madam Esla Usu, they visited the area and assessed it for themselves. And now with this new development that's been captured by our cameras, the Minister of Works and Housing's Public Relations Officer, One Elvis Ejeba, intimated that they were going to go back on Thursday with officers from the Hydrological Services Department to assess the extent of damage and recommend actions, which essentially would be the solution. But today, as I visited the ground, you'd realize that the urgency of the situation will not allow for waiting another day or 2 more days.
The residents, and I heard those vulnerable kids there speak about how they had to sleep outside. How are they coping with the situation?
Well, one particular gentleman that I spoke with, who's married with a daughter, says that his daughter and the wife had to put up with their friends in the area while he, spent the night outside. And he says that he had to go plant wooden beams and then, use some crossbars to protect the remainder of their building because their hall is gone.
Okay.
So what's left is their bedroom, and that's where a chunk of their properties are. And so he's trying to, provide an artificial defense that will, protect their house from entirely caving into the ocean. And so that's what's happening. On the brighter side, though, based on our report and the images that we brought from there, the contractor Sidalco Limited has returned to the site, and today our cameras have been able to capture. They are putting back some what they technically call polders. Okay. So these are huge rocks, not exactly as a sea defense, but what you're seeing on your screen now. These are huge rocks that are temporary barriers to the waves. Okay. And so it was, sort of break down the impact of the waves
in the interim.
In the interim.
Okay.
And he tells me that Gideon Kwaku tells me that, and he's a project manager at the site, he tells me that this is essentially because of the only hospital in the area, Royal Memorial Hospital. This is to mitigate the impact of the tide against this community there, so that the hospital will not tear down. As you heard the nurse say in that earlier clip, that they were in a theater when the floor just caved in. So this is a temporary measure to save the hospital. An extension also save the...
You talked about the minister visiting the area. Are there any short-term measures you put in place to for these residents as we look at the bigger picture?
In terms of short-termism, we don't have any specific, if you like, commitment from the ministry.
No relief items, nothing to support those victims?
What we know officially from the residents who have spoken to us, and I'm just reporting what they've told me, is that they've not gotten anything from them. In fact, Elvis Ejeba, who speaks for the Ministry of Works and Housing, says that they are working the lines together with the Ministry of Finance to get clearance to allow the contractor, some resources to fully resume work on the sea defense. So in terms of the efforts from the Ministry of Works and Housing, that's the extent of to which we know they are engaging the issue. In fact, I visited the Municipal Assembly, the Blakema West Municipal Assembly, to get some responses there. And they say that this has been brought to the attention of the Assembly, and then it's NADMO Directorate within the Municipal Assembly. And so they're considering, and they may just get some relief item. However, it may just be on the table that a permanent evacuation may be the solution
to all of this. This is something that we are monitoring, and definitely will bring a closure to this, because we'll keep on visiting the area until we see some results.